This is picture I drew, brothers and sisters, of Mr. Badass himself, Levi. He is a very good fighter, and I try to capture good action scene in comic book style. So if you like, remember to follow me on all the social networks. Attack on Titan, Episode 16. What to do now?
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the epic and action-packed tale of Attack on Titan. The last episode saw us with, well, of course, the Survey Corps, with Eren and led by, of course, Erwin and Levi going out and kind of cleaning up and rehabbing the old Survey Corps headquarters, this old castle, to prepare in preparation for this expedition that they're going to do in a month's time beyond the walls. So we also saw the two Titans that had gotten captured in the Trost battle getting they wound up being killed in the middle of the night, and all they could really deduce is that whoever the culprit was had maneuver gear to get away. So that's where this episode starts off. It starts off and they're checking and questioning every recruit, every trainee, anybody who would have had access to maneuver gear and ability to come in and of course kill these Titans. And as they're doing this and they're checking through them, we see Connie, we see Annie, and then we see Armin. And they're all kind of standing there, waiting in line to, I guess, get checked or what have you. And they're kind of talking amongst themselves. And Connie's like, God, whoever did this must have really hated the Titans. And Armin goes, yeah, but they obviously, their anger must have been so misguided because if you think about it, they really caused a blow to humanity. We could have learned so much from these things. And for somebody to have just taken matters into their own hands is stupid, And then there's some going back and forth about who's going to join what, the military police, the garrison, of course, or the Survey Corps. And Connie's very undecided, and just kind of, and Armin seems a little bit undecided as well. And then Annie goes and speaks up and says something along the lines of, because Connie says, well, what do you want to do and this and that? And she makes some cocky comment about basically if somebody asks you to die, would you do it or would you just follow blindly? And that's kind of what she's saying about the Survey Corps. But she says ultimately you got to make your own choice, your own decision. And then she goes and actually, and we haven't seen, I like Annie as a character because we haven't seen much of her since I think the 4th episode when they were going through their training and the graduation ceremony and all that. But she seems like a really cool character, and I had hoped to see more of her. But of course 12 episodes have passed and we've only seen her briefly a few times. So we do see her a little bit more in this episode. And she's talking to Armin, winds up paying him a compliment and says, like, listen, you're not that strong, but you're very brave. You know what I mean? And you're smart. And he's like, oh, you're not so bad after all, blah, blah, blah. And then we go and we see a little bit of a, I don't know if it's kind of like a flashback from the night before or what, but we see a lot of the recruits kind of think, this is the night before they've got to make their decision of who they're going to join, and only the top 10 can join the military police, so ultimately all you really have is the garrison, the wall guard staying within the walls, or the Survey Corps, which is pretty much like suicide. It's like the suicide mission type of guys because they've lost so many, which we find out a little bit later on, which is really kind of cool and staggering, the numbers that you see. But we wind up getting this little bit of a flashback to the night before, and we see that Gene has decided he's going to join the Survey Corps as well. And it seems like he's going to do it in remembrance of Marco. Marco obviously, died saving him, and Gene has good talents, and he also goes and thinks back to when that other guy, I forget who it was, if it was Ymir, but somebody had went and told him, he said, listen, you're kind of weak. But the thing about it is that's what makes you human. It makes you be able to make good decisions because you can see things from both sides of the coin. You know what I mean? You're not just overly strong like a Levi where it's just like, charge in, we're going to do it because you're superior to everybody else. You have the weaknesses that everybody else has. So that makes you a good leader because you can go and you can judge, based on what your group can or can't do and that type of thing. So I thought that was kind of cool and profound, and it did just kind of flash back to it. It wasn't like it was any new ground that we broke on that, but again, it was kind of cool seeing Gene sort of think about and remember those things and realizing that ultimately, even though he's scared, he's going to try to actually put his talents to use and do something. So The next portion of the episode is really them kind of gathering up and getting ready for the ceremony. There's a brief encounter during the day outside where Eren is getting his horse ready, and Levi comes up and basically says, "Stay close to me. Don't get any more than 2 horse lengths behind me. The only reason you're out here is because you're in my charge." Blah blah blah. And you can see that he's riding Eren hard, but for a good reason. And they're kind of going out and doing their training and stuff, with the actual survey corps. But that night we have the commencement ceremony, I guess, where everybody gets to choose. And Erwin comes out there to talk to everybody, and everybody's all lined up, and there's a few hundred recruits, and or the new graduates, I guess you would say. And Erwin comes out there and he basically says, "Listen, over the last 4 years since Shiganshina fell, and we lost Wall Maria, the Survey Corps has lost 60% of its numbers, right? 60% of them have been killed. And the reason for that is because in those 4 years, they've been trying to go and cut through and forage a path to actually retake Wall Maria. Because if you remember, the whole wall didn't crumble. It was that little culvert city that Shiganshina, and where Eren had lived in, and of course the main gate was destroyed, and then the armored Titan came through the main gate and destroyed the secondary gate that actually goes into Wall, it goes past Wall Maria and into there. So although there's Titans that have flooded into that whole area now, if you were able to seal that point up, or somehow, you would be able to seal that and retake that land eventually from the Titans that are there. So that's been their initiative the last 4 years. But it's staggering to think that they've lost 60% of their numbers. I mean, these are the elite. These are the best of the best, the warriors, the fighters, right? And you lost 6 out of 10 people. So the numbers are staggering. And really, it's not a great hoorah type of speech as far as I'm concerned, because many people are like, geez, this is going to scare everybody off. He does go on to say, though, that, listen, in 1 month's time, we're going to go on for our 57th expedition outside the walls, and we're going to go, and whoever joins the Survey Corps is going to be on that mission. You're going to come with us. We are going to get Eren Yeager back to his house, his basement, because that unlocks the key to his Titan ability and all that sort of jargon. And we're going to go, and our expedition is to retake Wall Maria. So that's what we're going to do, And he says, and probably whoever goes out in that force, probably a third of you will die. 30% of you or a third of you will die, will be killed in action. So he's definitely not reinforcing the positives here. He goes, and in 4 years' time, probably 60% of you will be, two-thirds of you will be dead. But what I can tell you is that at Trost, we had our first real victory against the Titans, and we're on the brink here, and he's trying to kind of, and this is the part where he's trying to hype everybody up and saying, listen, you want to let your fears overcome you and everything else, so be it, go join somebody else. But if you want to be a part of something, this could be that moment in history. This could be that moment right now, right here, where we're changing things and we're able to move forward. So it's really kind of a cool ending to the speech, and ultimately what it does is it scares away all the lightweights. It scares away all the people that, because they don't want to have people in the midst of combat that are freezing up because they're scared. The ones that saw all the horrors at Trost and everything else, if you're that scarred emotionally and you can't handle that, you don't have that type of mentality, you're not going to be any good in the field anyway. You're going to get yourself and others killed around you. So like I said, I thought it was pretty cool. And then there's this really neat sort of like rock ballad that's playing in the background. And I don't know where the song came from, but it was just really cool because as everybody's kind of going and walking away, you see the ones that are staying. And most of them are the ones that were from, Eren's training class. I mean, you've got Jean, you've got Bertholdt, Reiner, Ymir, Sasha. Sasha's scared shitless, but she's going to stay. You've got Armin, who, ultimately he's off the charts military thinking-wise and everything else, and he probably should be in the military police if you think about it, or some kind of commander or officer eventually. But he's got a lot of heart, and he's going to stick by. Mikasa, of course, we know she's going wherever Eren's going, and Eren's already joined the Survey Corps. But you see that as people are starting to walk away, that it's difficult for them to kind of stand their ground and to hold their ground and not just walk away and let the fear go in. Because Erwin, after he gives a speech, he says, listen, go ahead and make your choice now. I'm not going to hold it against anybody. Anybody who wants to leave, leave. Go ahead, do it now. But if you're in, you're all in. So he comes back a few minutes later and sees who's standing there and says, and I see those faces and the determination and the strength on your faces, and this is going to be great. And, and basically we're going to get ready to go kick some ass in like a month's time, So we wind up seeing, winding down towards the end of the episode, we also see an exchange where Eren goes and winds up running into, he sees Mikasa and Armin kind of walking by, and he goes and talks to them. And Mikasa immediately is like, what do they do to you? Have they been poking you and prodding you? Are they been doing experiments on you, covering every inch of your body? He's like, no, I'm cool. Don't worry about it. You know, so they've been treating me fine. Nothing like that. So they're talking about who joined up, you know, and of course Eren hasn't seen them in a while, you know, since everything on Trost, he was captured and everything else, except for briefly during his trial. So, you know, Eren goes and he says, you know, did everybody, so everybody joined up except for, you know, Marco, Jean, and Annie. And then all of a sudden Jean appears behind him and he's like, oh, you too? You know, I can't believe it. Because if you remember back in training, him and Jean, you know, they went toe to toe a couple of times. And Jean was basically like, fuck that, man, I'm being the military police. And then even when everything broke out at Trost, he was the one that was like, game over, man, game over. I was supposed to join the military police tomorrow. So for him to join it was kind of a big thing, you know, I think. Kind of profound. Well, Jean goes and then questions Eren. You know, he questions him and says, hey, listen, when you turned into it, he's basically saying, listen, you can't control this power because when you turned into a Titan, didn't you nail Mikasa, you know? And Mikasa goes, no, he was swatting at a fly. I thought that was funny. He's like, shut up, I didn't ask you. He's like, that wound on her face is still, you know, healing or what have you, and he assumes it's from that. It looks like she got hit pretty hard, you know? And Eren says, he goes, yeah, no, it's true. I didn't know what I was doing, you know, at that particular time. And it's really, you know, I don't know all the secrets and I don't know the answers to all your questions. And basically Mikasa's like, why are you asking him this crap now after you joined up? And Jean goes, listen, he didn't even know Marco died, okay? He doesn't even know a lot of different things. And I just don't want to be following him blindly and have it be a nameless, faceless type of death, okay? I want to know that we're dying for something, all right? So I don't want him to go and F up the operation. So basically he's just, you know, kind of almost checking Eren's resolve, like, hey, listen, I know you got the determination, kid, but do you think you can keep this under wraps enough to control it so you don't wind up going and errantly killing one of us, right? I want to die for a good reason, not because you went batshit crazy and decided to bat me in the head, you know? So really kind of cool. Things end up, though, shortly after that. The 30 days, of course, have passed. There's been training. There's everything else. You know, there was a brief exchange as well with Eren and some of the other Survey Corps, you know, asking, you know, what one of the guys had asked him, you know, what do you think, you know, the answer, or why do you think he asked you that question, Erwin, when he asked him that question about, you know, what do you think the enemy is? And they think maybe it's a trick question. Maybe it's him just kind of keeping it under wraps what the actual initiative of this mission is. You know, but ultimately it's like, hey, let's follow orders and let's get the shit done. So the end of the episode sees everybody kind of mounted up, man, and on horseback and getting ready to go, and they're at the gate, and they're like, okay, and the Titans have been drawn away from the gate. And now remember, Trost at the southern end, that one's been sealed up, so they actually have to come out the gate on the east end and then basically ride all the way through this Titan-infested territory, you know, back to Shiganshina or whatever at the entrance to Wall Maria there on the south end. So they've got to go through, and it looks like there's all kinds of forests and rivers and everything else. So I don't know if it's miles or what, but it's probably far, and I'm sure it's going to be fraught with peril. So everybody's kind of mounted up, and it's really kind of cool because we saw Eren when he was younger, when he saw the Survey Corps going out, him and Mikasa and Armin kind of lining up and like looking into sea because these were like the heroes, you know. And there's a couple of kids that are like talking about him and them like they're heroes, you know, because they're all wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? And he just kind of has this look of pride on his face, like, good, I'm finally going to do something good. And you know, they give this big commencement about this is the time that humanity puts their foot forward and steps forward. And it's really kind of a great hoorah speech, you know, and you kind of get chills up your spine, at least I did. And it's, you know, this is the 57th expedition beyond the walls, you know, so I think it's really cool, and it's good to see them going somewhere and doing something and venturing outside the walls, because when I started reading this in the manga, and I'm now ahead in the anime as far as to where I am in the manga was right around where he sealed the thing with in Trost with the boulder. That's where I left off. So I'm now, everything's new ground that I'm seeing in the anime. And I'll eventually catch up with the manga. But when I first read it, I wanted to see them venture out beyond the walls. I wanted to see them try to reclaim territory, find out more about these Titans, you know. So really exciting for me to see. So my episode question is, what would you do if you had the choice to join the garrison, the military police, or the Survey Corps? Keep the top 10 crap out of it. Would you take the easy, cushy life of the military police where you get fed well and you're on the most inner sanctum of walls? That would be the last line of defense, so you're probably not going to see much action. Would you go Survey Corps, which is kind of like Spec Ops, balls to the wall, probably going to die, but you may have some glory, you know, you may be able to turn the tide, change history? Or would you be part of the garrison, you know, protecting the walls from the outside forces in the case that the Colossal Titan returns, or in the case that there's all hell breaking loose? So weigh in and brothers and sisters, put your answer to that question in the comments down below. If you had a choice, which one of the 3 divisions would you join? If given the situation and your personality and just your personal opinion. So feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching you in the next one, Nation.
Remember, brothers and sisters, to share, subscribe, spread the word of the nation to others, and of course, if you like watching the videos, watching them is always much appreciated. Have a nice day.